Well, it's a beautiful Saturday morning, and it is spring. The spring has sprung. All the flowers are rizzing. They're coming up all over the place. And so there's lots to talk about today, but we invite your calls, of course, as well. We've got a great show ahead. We've got Dan Bruce calling in. We've got all sorts of stuff. So,
it's exciting out there. Like you say, bulbs are pushing up, and the gardens are they're crying out to be planted, really. Well, I can hear them. I could hear them all through the night, actually, and just shouting out, plant me, plant some seeds, plant something. So there you go.
I know.
Let's do it.
And everything in my greenhouse is saying, not the green bin. Okay, tip of the week.
All right.
The forsythia are beginning to bloom. So it is time to uncover and prune the roses. That is standard practice. It's what we've been doing for years. Forsythias are starting to bloom.
Yep.
Plant of the week is the Saxifrage bryoides, the mossy saxifrage. I sent that picture to you, Ken. It's just glowing in the rockery, in our new rockery, our COVID garden.
Yeah.
It's just going crazy. Thanks to Helen, and we appreciate that, Helen, very much if you're listening. Every flower that is popping up, we think of you.
Fabulous. All right, I also have a tip and a plant this weekend. It is definitely time, if you haven't started, to think about dormant oil sprays. It is warm enough now, and the bugs are starting to move a little bit. It's always nice if the little crawlers and overwintering aphids and things start to wake up a bit, and then you apply the dormant oil. It really works well. I always think of plants that need dormant oil, like the snowball bush. That's the viburnum group. They always seem to get those crinkled leaves in the spring, so if you hit them with a bit of dormant oil, that really reduces that for sure. And, of course, some fruit trees. All right, my plant of the week this week is the lovely cilantro plant. And I love cilantro, but we have a hard time growing it sometimes when it gets hot out. So get it out, get it going now, plant it in, and enjoy it. Just a little tiny bit of a cold frame on the cold nights. Other than that, it's fine, and it will flourish in these cool temperatures. So that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com.
Ken, cilantro is something that's used more and more in cooking now, isn't it?
Oh, it's fabulous.
It's a great, tasty herb. Mm-hmm. A little personal note today, Ken. Yep. We, in about 1997, I purchased a 1980 Toyota Land Cruiser, an FJ40 Toyota Land Cruiser. And it was something I'd wanted for probably, Greg Cooper, who was the co-host on the garden show from 1983 to whatever. He was a cruiser guy, and he turned me on to Land Cruisers. So I finally got my Land Cruiser in 1997. But as typically, it was a Land Cruiser, and the saying is, if it's a quiet evening, you can hear your Land Cruiser rusting. You can hear it rusting.
You can hear the ting, ting.
Things
you
working away.
There, you can hear the little bits of rust hitting the concrete.
Yeah.
They just bounce and make that lovely tinkling sound.
I know. They're infamous for rust. Mm-hmm. Well, when I got mine, it was pretty much a rust heap. In fact, I went into a car wash with it, and as I'm leaving the car wash, the fellow's yelling at me, "Come back here, clean up." I left half the Land Cruiser in the car wash because all this rusty stuff had fallen off. Mm-hmm. Anyway, long story short, in 2002, I took that thing right down to the basic frame up restoration. You helped me drive it down there. It was.
You bet. Yeah, I remember all the stages as you went along.
It took me 10 months of work to get this thing, and it was pristine. And I've had it all these years and enjoyed it very much. Mm-hmm. But I am now decided to sell it. Mm-hmm. And I sold it to a nice fella from Calgary. He's coming today to pick it up.
Fabulous.
He's all excited. He's a young gentleman. And, when I went out last night to have a last look at it in the garage, in my garage, I could see a little tear coming down the side of the left headlight.
Oh, you were giving it the talk about going to the farm. I said,
I'm sorry, dear. I am sorry, dear. It's time for us to part company.
This is a lovely farm on the prairies.
You've got a lovely place to go in Calgary. It might be a little chillier at night, but that's okay. You can hack it. You can handle it.
Be having fun every day, frolicking in the wilderness.
Yeah,
and
lots of snow. Just anyway. Anyway, so it's some mixed feelings. I'm happy to find it a good home, but I am a little bit sad. Anyway, 250-862-2525 if you want to shed a couple of tears with me today. And Ken's already crying. He's bawling his eyes out.
Yeah.
Such a sad story.
I miss that old Toyota Land Cruiser.
I know. I've even got a picture of it beside my plant of the week. I've got a picture of my Land Cruiser.
It's pretty nice. You sure you want to sell it, eh?
You sure I want to sell it? It's a done deal, Ken. It's gone.
Well, there you
go. It's done. We have Marilyn joining us. Did you want to cry a tear for my Land Cruiser too, Marilyn?
Oh, sure. Marilyn's my second name, so I will shed a tear for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have two questions. Maybe you've discussed them already. But is it too early to put a hummingbird feeder out?
No, I don't think. The hummingbirds are here at the moment that they can be, and I think that that the Okanagan is well known for its early blooming trees, and
right.
I'm sure those hummingbirds are nearby, if not already here. But when things start blooming, they're ready to go. So you want to be ready for them. So it certainly doesn't hurt.
And you know what, Marilyn? We got Dan Bruce coming on probably 3/4 of an hour from now. And he's a amateur ornithologist, and he has hummingbird feeders. He's got more hummingbird feeders than Costco. So I would
listen to him then.
Yeah, you have a listen. We'll bring that up.
Yeah.
We'll bring that up.
Yep.
Okay, and my other question, I had a couple of big pots with geraniums in that I left in the garage all winter, and they're showing green leaves already. Now, I'm wondering, should I cut them back more, or what should I do with them now?
Well, it depends on how long and spindly those new shoots are, but if they're not really long and spindly, then take them. Is it a huge pot? Can you move it around a little bit?
Yeah, yes, my husband can. I can't.
Yeah, I would put it out in the daytime now, and if you can watch the weather like a hawk, if it's not going to freeze at night where you are,
right,
then leave it out all night. Get it used. Geraniums are tough, and once they get toughened up, they can take a little frost. But I wouldn't let them have frost quite yet.
No, okay, and just fertilize it and whatnot.
Yeah, once it starts to grow, then you can give it some water-soluble fertilizer. Don't feed it too much until you see that nice new growth.
Sort of a temperature thing, right?
Yeah.
As it warms up, then you start feeding.
Yeah.
But while the temperatures are still cool here for a while, they don't really need much.
Yeah, wait till it warms up then.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Marilyn. And
okay.
Thanks
don't
for
shed
calling.
too many tears.
No, I won't shed too many tears. That's okay.
You've got your memories. That's worth it.
I have
more than
memories. I've
tears.
got pictures. I got everything you need. Yeah. Okay. Take
Thanks,
care, Marilyn.
Marilyn. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye
Okay, thanhanks. Bye now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. I have lots of geraniums in the greenhouse now. I've carried my mother. I've got about 4 varieties. I got the one I call Good Red that I got from a customer across the lake, and it's the most beautiful. I don't know the name of it. I just know it's really good, so I call it Good Red. Mm-hmm. I've got another pretty nice red, and it's a different color red, and I have Old Red on that one, so that's called Old Red. Then I have Apple Blossom, which is kind of rare nowadays. You don't see Apple Blossom too much around. I got a nice Apple Blossom parent plant. And I've got an orange geranium. And this year I want to buy a white double geranium.
I love white geraniums.
So there you go. That's my geraniums, and I've got them all. I got all the parent plants, and I've been taking cuttings. And the cuttings, it's just so interesting how I took a bunch of cuttings in the fall, in September, October, in the greenhouse. And, mixed results. There was quite a bit of what we used to call black leg. It's a fungus, rhizoctonia or something. And mixed results. Maybe 50% came through and rooted, right? Do you know, at this time of year, with this beautiful sunshine and bright and all this stuff, 100%. I can't miss. I just stick them in there and put them on the bottom heat, water them. Some of them I didn't even put rooting hormone on some.
Yeah, and that's a big part of having the greenhouse, right? Is that the greenhouse just makes that perfect environment. When you're doing things in the house, you know, it's probably about the same as it's always been, slightly brighter. You know, like that's the thing about houses is they've just got this continuous, constant temperature, which is so abnormal for plants. You know, like plants don't experience that in nature. Like they don't get a a 4-degree variation or 10 degree, not even 10 degrees. 20 degrees between day and night is normal. That's the sweet spot. So that's where plants really respond. And so, you know, that's what you don't experience in a house is that moving air movement, you know, bright, direct sunlight, and, you know, that fluctuating temperature. It's interesting.
And, you know, temperature and we're going to take a short break here, but temperature and humidity are so relative. Look at the top line on there, Ken, is temperature, and those little squigglies are the furnace going off and on. And look at how the bottom line, that's humidity.
Looks like my saw blade.
Yeah, but look at the bottom line, how it mirrors when the temperature.
Hold it up to the mic so the listening audience can see it.
Yeah. Can you see this, audience? When the temperature goes up, the humidity goes down.
Yeah.
When the temperature goes down, the humidity goes up.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, we're going to take a short break, and we invite your calls, 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. And we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. We are back with you, and I am sitting here staring at a picture of my Toyota Land Cruiser.
Tear in
a little
eye.
tear in my eye. Oh, man. I brought in an old ad. I've been going through some old... I got a big chest. I got a big, huge chest. And it's got all sorts of stuff, old newspaper ads, old newspaper articles, old books. I've got books from the 19th century, science books and whatnot. You know, it's really cool, really cool. Anyway, this was an ad that we used to do here. We used to do the Hanging Basket Day at Burnett's.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just chat about that as we go through the show. But we do have a caller, and we don't want to keep our callers waiting. I believe we have Maureen on line 1. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning. I'm just have a few questions about blueberries and raspberries. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I have all this new landscaping, and it's all these layered gardens, and you know how you keep seeing raspberries and blueberries for sale in stores now, in garden centers. First of all, I'm wondering, if I'm buying raspberries, this is a brand new area to plant, should I buy a variety of raspberries? Or do you buy one kind? And the same with the blueberries. I already have 3 plants of blueberries, and I don't know if I should buy different varieties.
Right. Well, you can buy different varieties of raspberries, but you don't have to for pollination, if that's what you're thinking. You don't have to. But there are 2 distinct types of raspberries out there. There's the June-bearing raspberry, which bears on previous year's wood.
Okay.
And you have your everbearing or fall-bearing raspberry, autumn raspberry, which bears on new wood.
Okay.
Or both.
Or both, yeah.
That's why they call them.
Yeah.
Everbearing means that they bloom, that the wood that's left over from last year will produce a crop. So in the spring or early summer, and then when it's finished, you cut it off, and then it produces a second crop later in the season. So,
or you can have the June berries, and use them for your early crop, and do your everbearing right first thing in the spring. Mow your everbearing raspberries to the ground, to 6 inches. And they will start producing in late July, go right into fall.
Oh, my goodness. So it's like strawberries. I have strawberries, too. Don't know what to do with those either.
Yeah.
And can't remember which ones are the June berries, which ones are the everberries.
Well, the June berries will tell themselves because they'll finish bearing, whereas the everbearing continue bearing right through the summer.
And that's one of the reasons why when you do this now is you make a decision with a single system and just follow through with that one single system.
Okay.
Moving ahead.
Don't try and do both.
Yeah, because then, it just causes confusion.
Okay, so when I buy my raspberries, make sure I know whether they're June-bearing or ever-bearing
That's
first.
probably the first thing you want to decide. And then the second thing, of course, is there are many, many different varieties out there. Willamette is the very old variety that's been around for years. Very tried and true variety. There's really nothing wrong with Willamette. But there's so many new ones, Haida, Chilcotin, and there's all sorts of new varieties that are tried and true now, too. And so you know,
do some research.
Yeah, a little research, I think, because it's like buying a tomato plant. I mean, there's so many varieties out there.
Trying to figure out which is best for the Okanagan, right?
Yeah. Well, again, Willamette you can't go wrong with.
Okay.
That's your June bearing, and Autumn Bliss is a good one for your fall bearing one. The other one, the other thing is on the strawberries, you can't beat TriStar. I know there's new varieties and whatnot, but TriStar is
still a really good one.
Good variety.
Everbearing strawberry.
Everbearing, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the strawberries, can you have one section that's everbearing and one section of your garden that's Juneberry?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends. It all depends on how much room you've got and what you. Yeah. But there's no reason why you can't have two types.
Yeah, and once you get something like a TriStar, they're pretty spectacular. They just produce gorgeous right from quite early right through to quite late, and they're
okay.
beautiful.
So this is strawberries you're talking
Strawberries,
about.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah,
and Totem is a good June bearing one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and then on your blueberries, that's where some pollination is quite helpful. But if you've got 3 plants now, do you know the varieties?
I'm not sure I did pick a tag off the other day. We had this major project last year, so I just went nuts and just bought all these hundreds of plants, and then I tried to keep the tag on them. But I know that I saw blue crop. Is blue crop a blueberry?
Blue crop is a blueberry, and blue crop. Ken and I were both kind of going. That's the standard. Commercial variety, that really, really produces. I've got a friend
that actually lives in the Okanagan.
Yeah, I have a friend that has a whole nursery of blueberry farm of blue crop, and
Well, I know that I bought three little bushes at Buckerfield's, and they didn't produce, of course, because it was just brand new last year, and I know that I bought a variety, and I don't remember the exact ones I bought, but I see that they have them again, and also at another big greenery,
right.
and it's like, oh gosh, where do I begin now?
Right. Well, the big deal with blueberries, and I mean, the only way you're going to be successful with that is soil amendment, because they want an acid soil. It can be done, can't it?
Yeah, but even that, it's a varietal thing. Like I've grown probably, 15 different types, and most of them just die over like 3 years. They just slowly die off. But the ones that survive, blue crop survives. The low bush blueberries tend to survive here, so the short ones. And that's like Jersey and anyone that has the name Northern in the name. They survive quite nicely and produce nicely. It's just the big giant buried ones that are like from the coastal areas, they just die out. I can name a big long list of ones that don't live here, but I don't want to plug up the system.
so as far as, should I add a bunch of peat moss to the soil then?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, because I have a whole tub of it.
Yeah, a good idea. Lots and lots of peat moss. Yep.
And pelletized sulfur as well, which is something we add around blueberries.
So what is it called? Sulfur?
Pelletized sulfur.
Okay.
Comes in little pellets, and it's purchased at garden centers typically, and it's applied based on label recommendations.
Do they still call it Tiger 90, Ken?
I don't think so.
Oh, just pelletized sulfur.
Yeah, I think different company now or something.
Yeah.
And would you add any other mulch or not mulch, but like compost or anything?
It's always a good idea.
Yeah.
They like a organic kind of conditions.
Yeah, nice rich compost.
Well, I was dumping coffee grounds.
a
lot of times last year, and I just got sick of doing it. I didn't know how much to add. And
I haven't really studied too much on coffee grounds. They're not going to hurt your garden. I don't know exactly what they do, but
good way to get rid of them.
Good way to recycle the coffee grounds. I don't think. I'm not sure what it does, but it certainly doesn't harm the garden.
Okay, and one last question: is it okay to have that whole back landscaping area? We had put grow over the whole thing. So can I just scrape that away? Because you're not supposed to have it on fruits or vegetables, are you?
Well, technically, that's what a lot of folks are concerned about because it does have the biosolids in it. And, you can scrape that off and keep that. The other product that the city produces, which is a great product, is called Glengrow.
Oh, yeah, I've used Glengrow.
And Glengrow doesn't have the biosolids.
Okay, so that would be a better choice for back there, just to keep the moisture in.
Yeah, and you're dealing with perennial plants, like these are berry bushes compared to like a carrot or something, So it's different from a vegetable. These are perennial crops that are going to live for years and years and years, and so those surface mulches really do help. Yeah. And if they're some sort of compost base, they certainly love that.
Okay. Well, that's okay. And thank you very much. And is it too early to plant a plant that you bought, like a tree peony? Is it too early to actually dig a hole and put it in the ground?
Well, if it's been outside in the nursery, winterizing in a nursery, probably just fine. But if it's been inside anywhere and it's putting on fresh, new, soft growth, that can get burnt if it freezes. So
give it a bit of time then.
Middle of May.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, it's when these plants leaf out prematurely because they've been in greenhouses, they can't just go outside and right into the direct sunlight. You have to integrate them gradually.
Okay.
And so peonies normally, like, they would survive the cold no problem. Like
my tree peony's pushing now. It's got about an inch and a half of new growth on it.
Yeah.
So if you harden them off and get them used to it, they're fine. But like Ken said, if you take them right from being soft and put them right out, they can burn.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
poor thing. I think I left it out overnight one day.
Well,
I'll be careful with it and give it a bit of time to harden off then.
That's right.
Yeah, get it used to it.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Oh, thank you, Maureen. Appreciate the call. Okay,
bye-bye.
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 And we're going to take that short break, bottom of the hour here, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Back, and we are pleased to announce that online with us, live online, is Dan Bruce. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
Well, this is the continuing saga of various Scottish botanists. Is it going to be Scottish today, or are we deviating away from Scotland and going on to something else?
No, we don't deviate all the time. Otherwise, it becomes boring.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's the Scotsmen that really have the show.
Mm-hmm. They kind of dominate the scene.
Yep.
But before we get into that, I just thought I'd mention that my genus of the week is Hoya.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
And I'm really happy to say that the Greenery have a selection of Hoya species. And I'm even happier to say that they're all named.
Oh,
yes.
Dad, that'll get you going. That'll get you going. Yay for the Greenery. Yep.
You can actually find out what it is you're buying.
I like that. Yeah.
Anyway,
awesome.
From the Greenery and the Hoyas, we go to John James Hamilton Dalrymple.
John James
Hamilton Dalrymple, who was the 12th Earl of Stair. And the Earls of Stair, their sort of home is Lockynch Castle, and they also are owners and responsible for Castle Kennedy. The 12th Earl was born in 1879, and he had a good long life. He survived until 1961.
Wow.
He was born in 1861?
1879.
Oh, 1879. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's still good. Pretty good life.
That bit was before my time. But,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
1961, I was a kid at school.
Yeah. Just a wimp.
A wimp.
Yeah.
Anyway, the 12th Earl of Stair had a varied career. He joined the he was educated at Harrow and Sandhurst, the military college and he joined the Scots Guards.
Mm-hmm.
He was involved in the Boer War, and in the First World War, where unfortunately he zigged when he should have zagged. He got taken prisoner in 1914.
Oh, these botanists getting taken prisoner. Holy mackerel.
Well, you know,
Yeah, I know.
it's a risky life.
I know.
Anyway, the Lockhinch Castle has extensive gardens, and the Earl of Stair is a typical example of the kind of people that, if you like, sponsored the collectors who went out into the wild parts to collect the plants, because the gardeners were the recipients of the product, as it were. They were the ones that encouraged the exploration.
Okay.
They were the ones that publicized the plant material.
Mm-hmm. The findings.
Yeah. So Lockhinch is famous for its incredible collection of rhododendrons, which had been started in the 18th century by the second Earl of Stair, but continued by the family, and it's good to say that the present Earl continues the tradition.
Now, so Dalrymple was more of a gardener, a plant collector, but you know, from the works of others rather than traveling the world looking for plants.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
You're not going to convince me that when he was involved in the Boer War, he didn't see some cool stuff growing in South Africa.
Right, right.
But then he was otherwise occupied.
Yeah. Zigging and zagging.
But even so, it's quite amazing at what these guys actually managed to do when under difficult circumstances.
That's right. Yeah.
The other thing that Lockhinch is famous for is Lilium giganteum.
Okay.
Which you've probably seen pictures of, but
is that that's not cardiocrinum?
Cardiocrinum.
It is.
It is.
Oh, there we go.
Oh my goodness, you guys, that's very good. Very good. You come up with all that stuff. That's very good.
Because they changed the name, wasn't that? It started out as Lilium giganteum, and then then they updated it.
And then, of course, Dan last week came up with the scientific name for panda. Checked himself out, and yes, he was correct. Yeah, panda. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was a good one, Dan. We got to give you that one.
Well,
we'll give you credit for that one.
Don't put me to that test too many times.
Okay. Well, is there a 13th Earl of Stair and a 14th Earl of Stair? Or?
Well, I'm not 100% certain at the moment what the situation is, but I'm about to find out because I need to talk to this guy.
Oh, there you go.
The reason being that the 12th Earl of Stair was a great friend of James Dunwaters of Fintry fame.
Okay, there's the connection right there.
Well, there is a connection. If, I would like to point out, if a connection is necessary. Some people can't seem to exist without a connection, but never mind, won't go there. When James Dunwaters decided that he wanted to get involved with Ayrshire cattle, he approached it in a sensible way. He tried out the Ayrshire breed. He got some from Quebec, and they did well. So then he decided that he would raise the quality and the quantity, and he got in touch with the Earl of Stair, and between them they cut a deal that the Earl would scour Scotland for the best possible animals, gather them at Lockhinch, and then arrange the shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So the 12th Earl of Stair is crucial in the history of Fintry.
Oh, yeah.
And some years ago, the British Ayrshire Cattle Association found a picture and sent it to me of a Scottish landscape with Lockhinch Castle standing in the background and Ayrshire cattle in the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
The date of the picture makes it quite possible that some of those animals, in fact, made it to Canada.
Wow. Yeah,
Interesting.
It is a fascinating history, and the Fintry location there is so important to us. It's a gem in Kelowna, and not Kelowna, in the Okanagan, I should say, a gem in the Okanagan, and one of our gems. We've got a number of them, but that is one of the very important ones. And Dan, the work you do out there is incredible, and we appreciate it so much.
Well, it goes on, at least for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to the plant world,
mm-hmm.
if you're out there shopping for buddleia,
mm-hmm.
Commonly called butterfly bush, there are a number of different varieties. And there's a really clear blue one with bluish-colored leaves. And that variety is called Lockhinch, after the castle, because it was either deliberately developed there or it was it was found, growing in the garden and recognized as being a good variety. So they propagated it, and it's now available virtually worldwide.
How do you spell Lockhinch?
I thought you might ask that. Lockhinch.
That's how I spelt it. Pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
That's how I spelt it. And so that's a buddleia called Lockhinch.
Lockhinch.
Something worthwhile looking for, folks.
Yes.
That's Dan's plant of the week. Well, might as well be.
Yes. Well,
Dan,
let's promote it.
We're going to have to. We've got a very, very patient lady waiting online to talk to us.
We should just ask Dan about the hummingbird.
Oh yes, we got to ask him about that before we go. But we always appreciate you coming on, Dan. The caller earlier on today asked if it's time to put our hummingbird feeders out yet. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is that my hummingbird feeder, the first feeder goes up always every year on the 1st of April.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
And it hangs there for a day or two, and then I get some takers, but the first ones don't stay around because I'm thinking that the first takers are those go-getters that, mostly Rufus, that go up to Alaska.
Oh, right. So pit stop.
That was just a pit stop then.
And it's a pit stop here. They see the feeder. Let's hit that one while we're going. But we're on a mission. We got to go. See you later.
Isn't that interesting? Well, 1st of April, I hope our listeners listening, and Dan has spoken. And Dan, we always appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you again next week.
That's correct.
Thank you, buddy.
Look forward to it. Thanks.
Thanks,
Take
Dan.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And now, should we take the caller that's so patient, or are we going to take a quick break? We'll take a break, and we're going to be back with more AM 1150 Callers Garden Show. Okie dokie, we are back with you, and Muriel, you are the most patient gal in the world. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for listening.
You're welcome. Good morning, you and Don and Ken. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Muriel.
I want a question to ask you. I might be wrong, but my Christmas cactus is starting to bloom again. Is this the right year?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No,
I noticed a couple of buds on it this morning or the other day, and I just wonder if this is going into a circle again.
Is this a second bloom, Muriel, or like this year, or is this the first time it's bloomed this winter?
No, this is the third bloom.
Third? Well,
bloom,
there you
yeah.
go. Well,
Yeah.
Ken's the cactus guy.
Yeah, mine does the same thing, and I know that it's because it's close to a cool window.
It has. It's been in with the window for years and years.
Yeah, and so the coolness that comes off the window tends to trigger it, and mine has bloomed 3 times as well. And again, it's a temperature thing. So, and the reason I know that is that the side that's close to the window always buds first, and I get the buds coming on that side. Then I rotate it, and then I enjoy those buds blooming facing inside the house. And then the ones that are, the branches that are now against the window have no buds, but if I leave them there, the cool air off that window triggers them to form buds, and then I rotate it again. So I can keep rotating them back and forth in that location. So it's really a temperature thing, and it works. It's good.
This is the first year I've seen buds this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's just
it has, it would bloom at Christmas, and then it would bloom. Would bloom around October, and then it would bloom around Christmas time, what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I turned my plant around this morning, and I see another couple buds on it this morning.
Yeah.
Well, plants have a mind of their own, like amaryllis. You never know when they're going to bloom and that sort of thing. And just remember that the zygocactus or the Christmas cactus, Easter cactus, Schlumbergia, the November cactus, the Thanksgiving cactus, they're all given these names because they kind of all bloom at different times. And I don't know which one you've got, but it's obviously a good one because it's giving you lots of pleasure. And sometimes people do all the right things, and the darn thing's just stubborn. They don't want to bloom. So you're doing a good job, Miriam.
Well, I just put the cassis. I bought cassis plant food on it, and I'm planning. I haven't done it for a while, but I have done it 3 or 4 times, and then. Everything's fine. I put mine out all summer, out in my patio here.
Okay.
And like Ken said, put it outside, and that's what I've been doing.
Well, there you go.
And it's been blooming.
You
and
just
next couple of weeks, it's blooming again.
Listen to Ken, and you'll get her done.
But I never saw it bloom this time of year. That's why I'm following about it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's fabulous. It's always nice to get the rebloom, and especially if you're not expecting it, it's just fabulous. And any plant, I think, that blooms in your house is a winner. It's just fun to have plants that bloom in your house.
Yeah, well, this is my hobby ever since I could remember.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have all kinds of plants, ivies and some other plants here.
Muriel,
that's my hobby.
Well, it's wonderful, and we always appreciate you calling in to the show.
Okay,
appreciate
I'm sorry it took you so long.
No, that's okay. We've got one more person to talk to before we take the break, so thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Muriel. Bye-bye now.
Muriel, bye-bye.
And we have Jan joining us. Good morning, Jan.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
Good
Jan.
morning.
I heard that conversation as well, and I am the same way. I have one Christmas cactus that blooms all the time.
Right
Same
on.
thing.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
No, my question was that we're just in the process within a week or two, couple of weeks, rototilling our garden. It's a small garden. Now, and the soil seems like by the time summer, after the rototilling and when summer comes, it gets very firm and hard. Do I put something like peat moss or potting soil, those big blocks of potting soil, into it before I have it rototilled or after? Or do I do anything with it?
You have to get a lot of compost into it of some sort.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about vegetable gardens, you really want to get over or around 40% of the volume as compost. It's quite,
and I don't have any.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. So before you start, I would put 4 inches of compost over the whole garden and then turn it in. And then rototilling, I only rototill about once every 3 years. And so then in between time, I just keep packing on the compost. And then sometimes if I have plants that are deeper rooted, then I'll turn it by hand. And what happens is soil forms this beautiful arrangement of little tubes where the worms go, and little balls called PEDs, soil PEDs that are in the soil. And that's where the roots grow and where the water stays and where the roots breathe and everything. So, and then when we rototill, we smash them all up into powder, and then we have no more worm tunnels, no more little pore
they have
spaces.
to make new ones.
Yeah, and it takes about a year or so for that to happen. So if you're going to till, add lots of compost, and that's one of the keys to opening up the porosity of the soil, and you should be fine. And it's just a beautiful thing if you can add a bunch.
Yeah, we have lots of loam. Our yard or our garden must have at least a foot to a foot and a half of loam before they hit the clay bed.
Jen, do you own a rototiller, or you have? Yeah, you have.
We own one.
You own one, yeah. I'm a big believer in not pulverizing the soil. I've got a small garden, very small garden, probably.
Yeah, mine's about 10 foot square.
Yeah, exactly. And mine is probably about the same size, maybe even smaller. And I don't own a rototiller. I spade my garden every spring, and I just finished doing that. And then I rake the top so it looks nice, and got a nice seed bed for seeds that are going in and whatnot. I just find that the rototilling, as Ken was describing, it really pulverizes the soil. And if you've got a small garden, it doesn't take long to turn it.
It's just that I have to do it. So.
Well, yeah, I understand.
I appreciate that.
We totally appreciate it. We're not trying to sort of tell you what to do, but that's where I'm going with my garden. I don't have a rototiller. I just turn the soil, and I have very good success with the soil staying a good consistency. And if I am going to be planting root crops that are wanting to go down, like carrots and beets and that sort of thing, then I dig it a little bit more, and I smash it up a little bit more with the back of the shovel. But I have steered away from. I mean, my dad used to. We got a rototiller, a brand new rototiller, after we sold the horses and everything, and Dad was just so thrilled. The fact it was like an old rear tang rototiller that was really, really strong. And he would just go in and he would run his fingers through that soil and thinking, oh, man, this is beautiful. It just feels so good and everything. But really, now I'm convinced that isn't the best. The best is to... That's
what ours looks like after it's been rototilled.
Yeah.
It must rototill down at least 10 inches down, and it comes... When my husband's finished doing it, it's sort of like powder.
I don't think it's going to pack as much if you are a little less rototillish and more spadish.
Yeah.
It's not going to pack as much.
A lot of compost.
Go
big
and
on
I don't have any. Do you buy compost?
Well, you
I
can
know
buy
they
it.
have that Oral Grow, but I don't know if you want to put that on your garden.
Well, you can buy compost. Absolutely. There's lots of composted materials out there that you can buy. If you go to the garden center and tell them what you want, compost. And you could use a peat product. There's some bulk products that are pretty good. There's
manures.
I'll tell you one product that I'm still a big believer in is Black Diamond Peat.
Yeah, Black
Diamond Peat. You can buy it in bulk, or you can buy it in bags.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And just put a fine layer on before I dig it, or after.
A fine layer. About, as many inches as you can afford to buy.
Okay.
So up, about 3 or 4 inches thick would be awesome.
And I also do it every several years at a time, too.
Oh, I would do it every year if I could, yeah. It's all about affording it and or saving your own compost each year, digging some in the fall, and then being ready for spring and adding fresh in the spring.
Yeah.
I put 4 inches of Nature's Gold on my garden this year. 4 inches thick, and turned it in.
Nature's Gold. That's like potting soil.
Well, no, it's actually Okanagan that's been refined, and it's and I don't mind at all using it on the garden. I use it all the time in my garden, but it's a great product. And if you don't want to use it in a vegetable garden, it can't be beaten for a surface mulch on your flower beds and perennial beds. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's great.
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate the call. Okay.
Thanks very much.
You
for your
betcha.
Time.
Take
Thanks
care.
for calling. Bye-bye.
Oh, we're within spitting distance of 9 o'clock, so we got to take a break.
Short break.
That's what we're going to do. We will do that. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with a whole hour of Garden Show when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. back with you for a rip-roaring hour of Garden Show, and we invite your calls, 250-862-2525. Today is 12 hours and 38 minutes long.
Woohoo!
It's a big 3 hours and 57 minutes longer than the shortest day in December.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we get to June 22nd, it's going to be 16 hours and 21 minutes long. Right now, we're 12 hours and 38 minutes long. So we've got another 4 hours to go in length of day. Mm-hmm. And that is just making those plants outside pop.
Everything's growing, that's for sure. And, with that in mind, we're continuing on with our webinar program. And today we have a webinar starting at 3 o'clock today, local time. And that is about attracting beneficial insects and pollinators to your garden. And so that is at, all you have to do is go to growercoach.com, and you can click on the learning button, and you can sign up for that. And we just send you a link, and you can connect in with us on the live webinar today, 3 o'clock. Pollinators and beneficial insects. It's a good one, so check it out. And there you go, growercoach.com. And this time of year, that's what I'm looking for now, is the pollinators to come around. Some of these hellebores and stuff, they don't really attract that many pollinators, but there's other things that are early, more like your saxifrage. I bet that would be something that really would, light up the eyes of a bumblebee or something.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the good old dandelion's coming out too. That's a big pollinator attractor, So, that's always an if. Should I get rid of my dandelions or not? Okay, we've got Jack joining us. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Don, Ken. Look, I listen regularly, but I missed a point last week on when you should plant the callas and the cannas. First question is, which one is a calla and which one's a canna? I have them both.
Yeah, well, the canna has a rhizomous root along, the pointy knob to it.
That's the canna.
That's the canna, C-A-N-N-A, and the calla is more of a roundish. Is it a bulb, Ken? It's a tuber, isn't it? It's not a tuberous root or no, who knows? But it isn't. It isn't a corm. I don't think. Whatever. It's very distinguishable. It's round, and here we are. Boy.
All right then. Well, look, my neighbor did hear, and she listens to you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's quite an avid gardener too. But she did tell me that you said don't put those in until later on, like April or end of April?
Well, yeah, Jack, you might want to start them in pots. I've got my dahlias started. I've got my cannas started. I've got my big elephant ear started. Calicasia, I've got it started. So in pots, indoors, and get them started. And then as the danger of frost is waning, then you can get them outside.
Okay, the dailies have been in last week. I've done it for years. I just got to get going. I got a big garden, and so they're in.
You planted them outside now?
Outside, and I've done it for years now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just lucky, but
no, they can, because they're not showing like green growth on them yet, are they?
Oh goodness, no.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
They've got those little spindly white.
Still dormant.
That are coming up, but they're in.
Jack, good for you.
And I've always put the others. Okay, we're talking about the callas now, aren't we? The round bulb ones.
Yep.
Or is that the canna?
No, that's the calla. C-A-L-L-A.
Now, I've always put them in about this time too. They're beautiful. If I put them in later, that means, of course, they'll bloom later. Isn't that true?
Probably, but the fact is that they are, again, dormant, and when you put them in the ground is protecting them, so that a little bit of frost that we get now, Jack, and where are you located?
Up in Glenmore.
Yeah, you got frost pockets and that there, but it's, I look ahead on my phone, and the frost, the nights are going 0, 2, -1, -2, 0, -1, 2, none of this 8 below stuff.
No.
Yeah.
No. Now, let's get on to this rototiller stuff. Now, you're a young man, because I know you, and I think you know me.
Yeah.
I'm a little older than you,
I do,
and I've done an awful lot of things in my life, particularly gardening.
Yep.
And the only way that I can survive and keep my garden going is to rototill it. There's no way in this world that I can dig up every one of my beds properly. So I rototill it.
Yeah. And do you pulverize, or do you kind of walk the rototiller rather than... Do you actually pulverize the soil?
I'll pulverize it to hell. Yeah.
There you go, Jack.
Now, what can I put in it? And you tell me about compost. Well, sure, compost is great, and I used to do that, too, until we were overrun with a few rats, so I don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't make your own compost?
No, I used to, but I don't anymore. So what can I put in which will help? I mean, my flowers grow beautifully, so I shouldn't be too worried about it, but I two experts are telling me don't pulverize the soil, and I did great glee in watching it turn to powdered sugar.
Well, there you go. And it all depends on your soil, too. Some soils can maybe manage that, but I'll tell you, that's kind of the new thinking now, is to maintain the PEDs.
The new thinking is the no-dig method, where we don't actually dig at all.
Yeah.
That's the new way, because people are tired of digging them. They're tired of rototilling, and they just keep adding compost on the surface and replanting into the compost.
Well, it gets higher and higher, and then runs out onto the road or under the sidewalk.
Yeah, compost disappears
I do that so I can move it around.
Well, Jack, one thing you got to remember, God does not own a rototiller.
Yeah. I know he doesn't, but he should.
Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, then. You say I can put Ogo Grow or something like that?
Well, I would, Ogo Grow or Glen Grow or Nature's Gold is my big favorite one. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jack.
Right.
Appreciate the call.
Thanks
okay.
for calling.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Well, there's shot our theory all to heck. But anyways, that's okay,
right.
Jack. We love everybody. That's what gardening's about.
Everybody rototills is fine. It's just that if we understand soils, we know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's all there is. And that's why the new methods are really getting away from all that. They have the new dig, it's called no-dig method, and everybody's doing it. Compost goes from 6 inches thick to 0 every year, so you don't have to worry about that. The plants just love it. They grow in pure compost. It's just a matter of having access to compost. And if you have access, it's easy, but if you don't, it's hard.
But Jack actually had a very good point, nowadays with the rat situation.
Yeah, you got to compost them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to compost the rats. But
they make really good compost.
Oh, I tell you. There was a time, Ken, when somebody would say, I've got rats, and I say, no, you don't. We don't have rats in the Okanagan. There are no such thing as rats in the Okanagan. And there was a time in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even into the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Very few, if any, incidences of rats.
Yeah.
Now they're all over the place. But anyway.
And they're moving north. They're already throughout Lake Country now. Like I think 2 years ago, there wasn't many up in Lake Country, and now they've gone through there, heading to Vernon, probably in Vernon already. Yeah. They travel, I think, on things that are shipped in boxes and crates and all kinds of things. Maybe even in compost heaps.
Yeah, very, very likely. We're going to talk. We've got a caller coming in, and we want to talk to Dennis. But I just at some point today, I want to talk about the trip to England, because I've got some more information on it.
Good.
Dennis, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, guys. How are you two today?
We are 100%.
I've got a question. This year, for the first time, would you believe, when I did my vegetable garden when I moved into this house 10 years ago, it was grass. So I dug all the grass up, rototilled, and went on from there. Yep. And each year I got a couple of yards of the good garden soil from up in North Glenmore, from the guys who do all the fertilizers up there. Yep. And that's all I've done. But this year I decided I never have much luck with my compost bins. So I decided to go. You recommended a few weeks ago about not Ogo Grow, the one with just a Glen Grow.
Glen Grow, yep.
So I got 2 yards in my truck, and I planted about 3 or 4 inches all over my vegetable garden, and I've been digging it up. And yesterday I was putting my potatoes in, and I was thinking, I really have a problem digging up and hilling the ones up, my main crop ones. And I was wondering, if I put hill it up with compost, would that be okay?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It works really well.
Problem.
Yeah, and those are all your late varieties, right? The early ones you don't have to hill.
Yeah, I've got Yukon Gold, which I'm putting in today, and I put my main crop, the russets in. I put them in a couple of days ago. Yeah, so it's okay. I don't have to.
No, I think that's fine as long as it's not too hot. I think.
No, I'm talking about the Glengrow.
The Glengrow, and I think that you'd be perfectly safe doing that. I had a gentleman years ago, Gary McCormick. He was a mechanic in town, and Gary planted his potatoes under straw. He just put the potatoes down and put a big pile of straw on top.
Yeah.
And you know what? They were quite successful. It was, I've never tried it, but that's what he tried. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, another question.
Yep.
On a show on the television months and months ago, some island in the Caribbean somewhere who had difficulty growing vegetables and this, that, and the other, they were talking about growing broccoli, and they said they ate all the leaves as well. Are they edible? Mm-hmm. Just the leaves themselves, not the florets?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yesterday I went to the greenery and they didn't have them in last week, so I managed to get some yesterday, and it said mixed broccoli. And when I asked him what the heck mixed broccoli was, he said, it's just different seeds in there. So I put 6 broccolis in, and I haven't got a clue what they're going to be like, or if they're going to be entirely different, all 6 plants. So I'll be curious to see what they look like.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
The only thing was, I don't think they got round to labelling them properly. There were no instructions on how wide apart to put them and things like that, so I only put them about 15 inches apart. Do you think that'll be okay?
Well, they should be fine about that, 15, 16 inches. It's really that the variety does make a difference. Like I grew some last year that grew they're about 4 feet high, and they branched out like a tree, and they had broccolis on the, the flower heads on the ends of each shoot, and I'd cut them off, and they'd grow back again. Like it was amazing. I had no idea what, because I didn't read the label. But if you know the different...
With a blank label, all it said was mixed broccoli. It didn't have anything else on it.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a bit of a surprise.
Maybe I'll dig them up. I only put them in yesterday, so I think I'll make them, put them wider apart just in case they get as big as what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they might be early, mid-season, late kind of thing.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Well, I think I'll move them today just to be on the safe side.
Well, keep in touch. Let us know.
I will do.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you guys.
Good to talk to you too, man. Appreciate the call.
Yeah. Thanks,
Bye.
Dennis.
Thanks,
care.
Dennis.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, we are in time now. We have to do another short break, but we invite your calls, 250-862-2525. And I've got a couple of websites here that have to do with our trip that I'm going to bring up just for fun and talk about them when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back, as we promised. We're back with you, and I promised again that one of the cool things about this trip coming up in 2022 is the fact that we will not just go to Chelsea in London, the Chelsea Flower Show, but we're going to go to the Floriad show in Amsterdam. And the Floriad show happens only once every 10 years, so it's a big deal. The Floriad Expo 2022. If you Google Floriad Expo 2022 and the website comes up, tells you all about it. Starts on April 14th, goes to October, so it goes the whole summer. It's a season-long event. So it's going to be a good one. Mm-hmm. And then we go to one of the other things we do is the Kensington Palace and the gardens. They have a palace in the gardens. You can tour the palace. It's where Princess Diana had her apartment for quite a while, mm-hmm. and the gardens are very cool. And then Sissinghurst Gardens in Kent. That's another beautiful, beautiful garden, and I haven't been to those. I've been to the Salvail Gardens. I've been to Ken's gardens there.
You bet.
But I haven't been to Sissinghurst Gardens. And then we've got the Chelsea Flower Show in London.
Yeah, that's pretty spectacular.
Which is incredible.
Incredible, yeah. How much time at Chelsea?
A full day. A full day.
Wow.
You need a full day.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have a full day. You got to go eat lunch there, you have dinner there, and you spend the whole day and then come back. It's like Seattle on steroids, really. It's just amazing. And then we have the Eurostar train between London and Amsterdam. So you go through the Channel over to France and then up to Amsterdam. And then you do some canal tours and canal cruises and whatnot in Amsterdam and just see the sights. But you go to the Floriade show in Amsterdam. And then we come home. It's about a 10-day trip, Ken. And Marlin Travel is who is handling that for us. We still haven't got all the detail on it as far as pricing and that goes, but it's going to be a good one. So, keep that in mind. We're going to have some fun in 2022. Now, contingent upon the COVID situation, of course.
Yes. Right now we're having a nice big rush again. And
Yeah,
it's just picking
I
up. We're going to hit
know.
1,000 maybe today. Wouldn't that be amazing? 1,000 new cases.
I know. It's
That's
just crazy.
breaking the records there. So what's happened? I thought it was supposed to go away now.
It's supposed to be going away. It's a tough one, that little virus. Isn't
Working
it?
more on younger people, it sounds like. So,
But we stick
bad.
to our guns and we don't talk too much COVID on the show because that's not
right.
what it's about. You know, way back, I was telling you about the Saturday hanging basket day, but way back in the 80s, Saturday, May the 4th, I forget which year that was. But I could probably find out just by Googling what year had May the 4th as a Saturday. And there'd probably be about maybe 2 years in that decade where the May the 4th was a Saturday.
oh,
Yeah, you could probably pin it down fairly close. In fact, you could do that while I'm reading.
I probably could.
May the 4th, what was May the 4th Saturday in the 80s? Okay. Anyway, we used to do this, and we'd say, bring your empty baskets in Saturday morning and have them planted that day. So we'd gear up for that. We'd grow a bunch of plants for those baskets, and you bring the basket in, you go to Station 1 or Area 1, and you decide there, do you want petunias, do you want ivy geraniums, do you want nepeta, do you want dianthus, dimmerpothica, verbena, just trailing verbena, ivy, fuchsias, mimulus, begonias, schizanthus, coleus, you name it. And you just, if you wanted to have your basket done, this is my mother's choice, Ev's choice, a selection of 9 plants from the following: impatiens, fuchsias, lobelia, mimulus, begonias, schizanthus, coleus, and broalia. For $8.95, you can have your basket filled with soil and plants.
Wow.
For $8.95.
That's a good deal.
Folks, this was in the 80s.
I'll take it.
Don't be flying over to Don Burnett's place and wanting to have your basket filled for $8.95 at this point in time in history. But yeah, so not only will you get your baskets planted at super prices, you also have a chance to win a barbecue or a wheelbarrow full of tools. Enter your order at the cashier on the way out or for the draw to win. That was Burnett and Sons Nurseries and Flower Shop back in the days.
It looks like it was in 1985.
That's just
it's
1985.
The only one.
1985, the only May 4th Saturday in the decade of the 80s.
Yes.
Well, there
only
it is.
one.
We pinned it down. I'm going to write it down on this ad. I'm going to put 1985. That was a year before you joined us, Ken.
Year, yep. Yeah, it was
1985, a year before you joined us. Yeah. How time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, yeah.
I would say. 250-862-2525 and get through to us. Another shout out to Alan and Wendy Reed of Hazeldale Orchards. They do such a great job, and I drive by on Burns Road, and they're just buzzing, getting ready for the season.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the season. They have great selection of fruits there that when they open up, amazing family-owned operations. Been on that property for over 100 years.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Over 100 years they've been on that property. And Ken, we can drive down Burns Road, and I'll tell you, that is one place in Kelowna, one drive that has not changed one iota, except we got Byland's big field there, but it's all open fields. It's farming, and I grew up. We used to drag race down Burns Road. That's why.
That's why they put the speed bumps in.
Speed bumps in. I was drag racing down there back in the day. Yep. You bet. Now we have on line 1. We have Nick. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Don.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Not too bad at all.
Don, I was kind of wondering with the rat problem here in Kelowna, like weasels, they're native to Canada. Would they be effective eliminating rats?
Weasels.
Yeah.
Weasels might be after rats. Then you got weasels.
Yeah, we have some native species that live here naturally, and they do chase after the pocket gophers and the mice mostly, but because they're burrowing, their body shape is designed to go down, those tunnels and down the holes. But it's interesting. I would imagine that they would probably, play a role in reducing their population. But you think you would want the a little bit bigger weasels?
Well, weasels are quite ferocious, and they put up quite a fight.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think they would be good, but
I'm just wondering what the negative aspects of it are if you bring in weasels. Will they go after?
They go after chickens. I remember they used to go after our chickens.
Yeah, I think that's why they were almost eliminated to the point of extinction, right? And that was probably because of that, but they were so good at controlling gophers and all those, they were the best, but, not very many around anymore.
Nick, on a side note, this is Nick from Karen's Florist, right?
Yep.
Nick, I was thinking of you the other day. I'm wondering how you're making out, and great to hear your voice. We're going to have to get together. Give me a call sometime.
Okay. Also, another thing, Don, when you go to your European trip, if you take in the florist auction in, I believe it's called Leiden in Holland.
Yes.
You'd be surprised how the volume and how it operates up there.
Oh,
massive display.
Well, Nick, I know. And, of course, our local auction in Vancouver, which we dealt with quite a bit over the years, Ken and I both went down there week after week after week and sat there at 5 o'clock in the morning and picked our flowers out and then start punching the clock and bring. That was they emulated the Holland auction, but it was like 1/100th of the size.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm serious, Nick. Give me a call. We got to get together and have a chat.
Love to.
You betcha.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Take care, Nick.
Thanks,
Bye-bye
Nick.
now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Nick was
the Dutch auction is fabulous.
Yeah, Nick was the owner of Karen's Florist back in the day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One of the owners. I guess the original owner back in the 30s was Karen, probably. But Miss Bent was the first owner that I remember of Karen's Florist, Miss Bent. And remember Maureen that worked for us, Ken?
Yes, yeah.
Well, her husband owned Miss Bent's old car, like 1920s or 1918 runabout that she used to deliver flowers in. It was amazing. I forget what breed of car it was, but it was Miss Bent. Yeah, all this history is great. We had Karen's Florist. We had the Garden Gate. We had the Bloomers. Maybe Bloomers is still around. I'm not sure. Bloomers. And these were all different names of flower shops back in the day.
Love the Florist. Highly recommended to participate and call them up and get some flowers delivered today. Help support that whole thing. It's a huge industry, and I kind of see it sort of waning a little bit. And I think we need to kick it up again. There's just nothing as decadent as a beautiful bouquet of flowers sitting on the table.
One thing they have done, Ken, is they've gone online, and there's a lot of online business going on with floristry now. Back in the day, it was FTD and FTD and. There was another, United Flowers, UFC, United Flowers Corporation. There was a number of, Florifax was another one. These were all organizations. I think FTD is still alive, but not in the way it was back in the day. It was flowers by wire, right?
Yeah.
We don't wire anymore. We email. Anyway, that's enough said about that. We're going to take a short break here. We're back with another half hour of Garden Show, and that's what we're going to do. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you on the AM 1150 Garden Show, and it's turning into a stellar spring day. Just got a text from our good friend Alan Reed. He's out on his tractor doing his second dormant spray of the year.
Yeah.
And they
This
they
is
like
the time.
Yeah, and you know what I like when you drive by in the spring. On the end of every row of pear trees there in the orchard, they got daffodils coming up, and I think some tulips too.
Nice.
Little planting right at the end there, very cool. Yeah, and of course I dealt quite a bit with his mom, Al's mom, Ella Reed. Ella, she remarried after the husband passed away, but I can't remember the new name, but Ella Reed is what my mom knew her as. And
nice.
Ella Reed was a fabulous gal, avid gardener, and yeah. So there you go. Old family business that was right around the corner from another old family business, the Burnett's. Grandpa came here in 1922, started working that property on Ethel Street, started growing onions and corn and tomatoes, field tomatoes and whatnot. And they were buying plants from elsewhere to grow in the fields. And then they thought, well, hey, if they can grow them, maybe we can grow them too. We don't have to buy them. We can grow them. So they put a little greenhouse right up against the old house that used to be their old house on the property. And it was a greenhouse that was dug into the ground, Ken. Like the glass, you had to be careful walking close to it, because if you tripped and fell, you'd fall right through the glass into the greenhouse, because it came right off the ground.
Yeah.
There's concrete walls down into the hole. So it did a couple of things. It made it much more heat efficient.
Yeah.
And
especially the winter months, it would be, for spring, the earth is all pre-warmed.
But in the summer,
start.
In summer, it was kind of had a cooling effect on it.
Yeah.
Because of the cool ground.
Yeah, it's a brilliant
like a root
idea.
cellar almost.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So I remember that greenhouse very clearly. And so they put that up in about 1925, 2 years after they were here. And then they put their first big greenhouse up in 1932. So,
now, before we go on to something else, we did have a caller or a email asking a question about a viability test for seeds. So if you have seeds that you have stored from season to season and you wonder if they're still good, you can just do a viability test, a quick test where there's two methods. One is you can actually germinate 10 seeds, and that's where you actually just put them in some wet paper towel and a nice warm location and just keep them damp. And they have to stay in the light too. Most seeds will germinate in the light. And if you get 10 seeds and 8 of them germinate, you've got 80% of your seed is still good. So using 10 seeds is a quick way to calculate. Another quick way is take those 10 seeds and just throw them into a glass of water and stir it up a little bit, let it sit for a few minutes, then go back and see any seeds that float are not viable and any ones that sink are good and they are viable. So, that's, again, is a quick way. Again, if you had 10 seeds in and 6 of them float and 4 of them sink, you only have 40% of your seed is good. And so that's the way you can tell if the seed is good. But typically seed lasts a long time. It's surprising how, just a few years old, it's not bad. I think that even, onion seed is, once it's a few years, it starts to fade. So certain types of seed kind of fall off that wagon. But a lot of things, it's surprising. We had pea seeds that were years and years old. I don't know how old they were, 12, 13 years old, and they still would grow.
I want to see you do that with begonia seeds.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a challenge, yeah.
Okay, we're going back to the phone lines. We got Ted online. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have about a 10 by 30 area garden. I've put in a bit of horse manure. I've kind of rototilled it, but if I was to add something in there to keep the dirt a little less compacted, like more airier, what do you recommend?
Well, horse manure is darn good, and Ted, as long as it's well-aged. Well-aged horse manure is fabulous.
Okay.
But, as far as the compaction goes, one of the things that is very good for eliminating, especially if it's on the clay side, you might want to add some gypsum. Agricultural gypsum, not drywall, but gypsum. You got to buy it in a bag. And that's really a fabulous product. That helps. And then any composted organic material that you can get in there is good.
Yeah.
Okay. No sand, no gravel?
Well, depends on what you start with. Sometimes you add sand to a certain thing and you end up with concrete,
Oh, yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. Compost is really the answer because compost will actually it'll improve the structure of the soil over time. Mm-hmm. So that's why you want to use that. And if it has some composted sort of chunks in it, like chunky, well-composted wood bits, then that's really good, again, for opening up those little passageways and things in the soil. And mulching on the surface, remember that whenever you put nice compost just on the soil surface, it attracts the worms up, and the worms will come up and feed on the compost that's on the surface, and that will open up those pores and create a much more porous and aerated soil condition. So, doing things that the worms love, that's the one thing you can do. But unfortunately, rototilling the worms don't like that so much.
Yeah, but, it was just to get, I'm getting anxious, that's all.
Yeah.
Ted, I'm glad you are, because it's a beautiful spring coming up.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck.
Okay, take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. We invite Gail to join us. Good morning, Gail.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Oh, hi, guys. I have a couple of problems with flowers. I have a bed of phlox, the tall ones, quite tall, 4 feet high. And they've been prone to get mildew a lot. But last year, it started getting mildew almost immediately, might have been only 8-10 inches out of the ground. And I'm wondering, is there something you can put into the dirt, or do they just have to be sprayed continually to keep the mildew down?
It's a tough one, but Ken, there was a new phlox out there you mentioned a while back that maybe was less prone to mildew.
Well, if it's the summer phlox, that is like Phlox paniculatus, it's actually a 2002 perennial of the year, so it's not that new. But that's the Phlox Davidii, which is known to be resistant. But a lot of the shorter varieties as well, there's a whole raft of new phloxes coming on the market now that are about 2 feet high. They all bloom through the summertime, some of them even a bit earlier, so starting around towards the end of July, blooming right through into September, and just beautiful varieties. But I don't have the name of them right off the top of my head, but I've been introducing some of these on some of our different programs, talking about new introductions, and some of them are just spectacular. So I think what we need to do is just watch for new and short varieties of the Phlox paniculatus, and that'll be the way to go. So if it's a newer introduction and it's something that's short, like say 2 feet or less, it's going to be a real winner, and they're generally resistant to the mildew.
Yeah, they're working hard to keep that mildew issue down, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. And remembering that
these ones have been here for years and years.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they were here when we've been in the house for 20 years, and they were, here then. So they keep growing, but maybe I just should dig them all out then, eh?
Well, or try some of the other things. I remember that because we're in the Okanagan, we're horribly deficient in zinc, and it's proven that zinc deficiency is related to the problem with mildew.
Oh, okay.
So that if you do, just soon as they start pushing up, you start spritzing them with. You can buy vitamin Z at the drugstore, and it comes in little tablets. It's easily dissolved, and you just take a few tablets, 2 tablets in about a half a liter of water, and you just crush them up first and then add it to the water and shake it really well so it dissolves. And you can spritz that right onto the plants, and that gets you that zinc directly through the foliage. And you start that as soon as they start pushing, and you can keep the zinc up in those plants. And that's in the Okanagan here, because our soils are so alkaline. We do run into a lot of zinc and iron deficiency, but it's the zinc there's a proven connection there with mildew and zinc deficiency.
Okay.
So that's one thing you could try for sure.
Okay, well, we'll give that a try. Thank you. And then would I still get the mildew spray as well, or just do you think?
You're probably getting a spray with sulfur. That's about the only thing left for fungicide, spray fungicide on the market is products that have sulfur in them. And that's an old remedy, been around for hundreds of years, sulfur for mildew. But as Ken has often said, you can't just... You get mildew, it's pretty hard to suppress it once you get it started. You got to prevent it from coming.
Yeah, it's only preventable.
And the other problem is we have a peace rose, And it's been growing for a few years now, too, and always beautiful. And then last year, it got this brown spot on it. And it's on the leaves and the stems. And is there anything I can put in the soil for that, or do I spray it, or what do I do?
Well, you might want to just press the restart button on that rose and take it right to the ground.
Oh.
Do the dormant spray on it right now. But you can just take it right down, and it'll start growing some new canes up. That might be one way of kind of.
So cutting each cane down to about maybe 3 inches tall or so, and then allowing it to shoot right from the bottom, and then always feed with something. Try a feed of something that has sort of a broad spectrum of nutrients in it, like the maybe at least just 1 or 2 applications of like a Miracle Grow type product, water soluble.
Like the Miracle Grow guys have a rose fertilizer. I have been using that.
Oh, that would be good.
Would it be just the ordinary one, or should I continue with the rose?
The rose would be fine because they've got a trace element package in there that's sort of formulated for roses. So that's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when you do these, if you're trying to control, as Dawn was just quickly threw in there, the dormant oil lime sulfur spray.
Okay.
And that's something that's done on roses early, but it kind of went through that really quick. So maybe write that down. Yeah. Dormant oil lime sulfur. The lime sulfur is really good at preventing those diseases from starting. So I think I'd cut it down even first and then apply it and then let it grow, and hopefully you'd have a good control.
I wait, on my roses, I wait until they got a little bit of new growth pushing from the buds when I do that dormant oil lime sulfur, and I've had really good success with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just you spray it on?
Spray it on.
Okay.
Spray it on.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Keep it alive.
Thanks, Gail. We appreciate the call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, we're going to take the last break of the day, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Well, what a beautiful day. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. It's going to be busy for me, but that's what it is at this time of year. Busy, busy days.
Yeah, we've got our classes coming up this afternoon, another webinar. It's almost every Saturday. It seems like we've been having assorted webinars. Today is on it's attracting beneficial insects and pollinators to the garden. And so I'm looking forward to that. 3 o'clock today. GrowerCoach.com. Just click the Learning tab, and there it is. Really easy to sign up.
Fabulous, Ken.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying my lettuce crop this year in the greenhouse. It just is coming on like gangbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Got to remember to water it, though, when I get home, because it's in a trough. I planted it, when the rain eaves troughs?
Yep.
Well, I got some old sections of it, and I capped off, about a 3.5, 4 foot long section, capped off both ends.
Did you have to seal the ends, or did you just...
I didn't seal
if it's a planter.
And I put holes in the bottom, so why seal the ends?
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
So anyway, I water it and I feed it, and I got it hanging in my thing. I have taken 2 lovely crops of lettuce off, and the more you take off, the faster it grows. It's leaf lettuce.
Yeah.
However, again, and I don't know why, that first crop, fabulous. And I transplanted into. I thought, well, if that's doing so well, I'm going to do another one on the other side of the greenhouse. So I planted some lettuce, like I did before, in a little 1201 tray pack, and it's damping off.
How's your air circulation? You've got fans.
I do, but Ken, you're so smart. I should turn that fan on, right?
Having a fan is good, but having it on is even better.
It works better, rather than just having a fan. Yeah. But Here's what I've learned this year about cucumbers. I've had some trouble getting cucumbers really growing well in the greenhouse. Mm-hmm. I plant the seed in a small pot. I grow it up, and then I put it into a bigger pot, and the plant just wants to grow and grow and grow. Right. And I take it before it's really, really well rooted in the gallon pot. Mm-hmm. I put it into the big tub.
Right.
Okay? Starts out fine, but Ken, the big pot that it's in, it eventually gets root rot. And I got one cucumber that's totally just failed because of root rot. I got 2 other cucumbers in it. I got 3-inch long cucumbers on them, so I'm really hoping I don't kill
So
these.
you got to let them almost just start to flag a bit before you water them, because it's what's at the bottom of the pot is the thing, isn't it? Do you have it on a heating pad? The pot?
No. They're just
bottom heat.
Just on the ground, in the ground there, not in the ground, but on the
sitting
on the floor.
on the floor. Yeah.
So it's anyway, it's a challenge, but that's what gardening is. That's why we help people, and that's why people help us. Gardening, there's challenges out there, and there's lots of people out there that have the answers. I mean, you drop into the Kelowna Garden Enthusiast site there.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
Everybody's got advice. Everybody's giving advice, and that's fine. That's what gardening's about. It's like talking over the back fence and saying, yeah, you're doing that wrong, or
Actually, a lot of it is quite accurate. Actually,
I'm
I'm always impressed when I look through there. Find some that's kind of not quite so good, but then you will see there's a few people that really know what's going on, and they're giving some really good quality advice.
Good advice there.
So good,
maybe we should tap into that sometime. And
I've been on a couple times, but I sometimes I just find there's so many people commenting. I just think it's kind of diluted. By the time I get there, I'm a bit slow on the draw. If I was just sit there and wait for somebody to ask a question and then jump right in and answer, you know. But anyway, it's all fun and games, and it's interesting to read and just to hear the problems that people are having. So it's
well, and a lot of home remedies, and the home remedies are fine, as we've discussed before. But that there was one there where they were talking about putting boron from borax, put borax on your yard, on your garden, and that. And they weren't being as firm about the fact that you could really do some harm,
like almost permanently.
I know. So that I stepped in there and just mentioned my 2 bits worth there, but because that can really, really ruin a gardener's journey.
Oh yeah, it can put it halted in their tracks. Boron is often used as a soil sterilant,
exactly,
and it lasts for years and years and years. It can take. I don't even know how long, but it's very slow to, or let's say it has a long residual effect.
Remember the product called Urea Bore?
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to the end of the show, and it is a beautiful day out there. So, folks, I want to see you get out there in the garden today. I really think that's important to start off the spring right. I've got tomatoes going in now. I've got my big Bella Monte tomatoes going in. And we're going to plant those pretty soon, and we'll have some of those available, actually, the Bellamonte tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to, and I got the cucumbers coming on. I got squash coming on. I got all these bedding plants in the greenhouse coming on. I had 2 tomato plants that were 3 feet tall already, so I thought it's a little early for them, so I cut them right down, and they're going to branch out, and I'll put them out in the garden after.
Yeah, and this usually once you get into April is the normal time for seeding tomatoes in our climate. So we've got lots of time.
Oh, sure.
It's nice to get a little head start on certain ones, but
Ken, you got your seminar today, growercoach.com, and get in there and learn about pollinators. All about pollinators.
Beneficial
insects.
Yeah. There's a ton of them. Like, it's unbelievable. I try to, I'm trying to keep it in that, hour and a half, discussion, but wow, it's really hard to do. You get in there and you just can't help but to expand on stuff,
Well, when you think about a lot of the growers now, the big field growers are growing a strip of pollinating plants right down the center of the field.
You betcha. Yeah, we talk about that, actually.
Yeah, perfect. We're going to now do the tips and plants of the week and the Shigo, and we're out of here. My tip of the week this week was the forsythia are beginning to bloom, so it's time to uncover and prune the roses. And my plant of the week is Saxifrage bryoides, the mossy saxifrage.
Yeah, very cool plant that is. All right, I also have a tip and a plant. My tip of the week is that it's time to apply dormant oil on a lot of shrubbery and fruit trees. But, it's those ones like the viburnums, the snowball bush, that really get the leaves all crinkled up in the spring, and those ones really benefit from that. So this is the time to apply that. All right, my plant of the week this week is cilantro, because this is the time you plant cilantro, and you can get a couple good crops in before it gets too hot, and then it's done for another year. Last year was so great for cilantro because it rained and rained and rained and rained all the way to July, and we got multiple crops of cilantro, and it was so fabulous. fabulous. But yeah, it's not normal. We'll see what happens this year. That's my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com.
You betcha. My Shigo quote of the week is, "We are more dependent on trees than trees are dependent on us." There you go.
Yes,
and
true.
Just folks out there, shed a little tear for my old girl, my Toyota Land Cruiser that I will no longer own after today.
You're sort of dedicating this show
The show
memory.
was totally dedicated to my 1980 Toyota Land Cruiser. And on that note, we'll see you next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.